happened before the Eternal One destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. 2 more verses I want to read here. So Lot chose to settle his family on the plains of the Jordan Valley, and he journeyed eastward. This is how Abram and Lot separated from each other and established 2 different households. Abram settled in the land of Canaan, and Lot settled among the cities of the Jordanian Valley. He eventually spread out and pitched his tent as far away as Sodom. Okay, we see right here, I read Genesis chapter 13 verse 1 through 12, that the men, they separated, they had so much, Lot had so much, and Abram had so much of everything, so they had to split, they couldn't stay together, they had so much, the herds and the people, the herdsmen and all that, so Abram gave Lot the choice to, Abram said, well, we need to separate. Either if you go east, it's your choice. I'll give it to, your choice. You can go east. If you go east, I'll go west. Basically, if you go west, I'll go east or whatever, north, south, whatever it may be. He said, but we'll just, because we have so much together that we cannot stay together. It's just too much. So, right here we see that, the herdsmen got into it. They got in an argument, and Abram had to say, hey, we're family here. Let's just settle this. So they separated. Okay. Now, going over to Genesis chapter 14. If you have your Bibles with you, I want you to go over to Genesis chapter 14. And we're going to read, starting at verse 11 through 16. Okay, now, there was a little war going on here. 5 kings against 4 kings. The kings of Sodom and Gomorrah, the king of Sodom, was on the same side as the king of Gomorrah. I think there were 5 of those. 4 of those kings was coming up against the king of Sodom, Gomorrah, and 3 more. So fighting and war between the kings was going on in this day of Sodom and Gomorrah when everything was happening. And let's just read. I'm scrolling down now to verse 11, starting with 11. Okay, let's see. Okay, as the fighting and everything was going on, and you can read starting at verse 1, the kings were at war. Okay, so, starting with verse 11, right here, NIV says, it's 4 kings against 5. 4 kings against 5, and Sodom, and the kings of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah, they were the 5. They were of the 5. It was 3 more of them. So, verse 11 says, the 4 kings seized all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food. Then they went away. They also carried off Abram's nephew Lot and his possessions, since he was living in Sodom. A man who had escaped came and reported this to Abram the Hebrew. Now Abram was living near the great trees of Mamre the Amorite, a brother of Eshcol and Aner, all of whom were allied with Abram. Okay. When Abram heard that his relative had been taken captive, he called out the 318 trained men born in his household and went in pursuit as far as Dan. During the night, Abram divided his men to attack them, and he routed them, pursuing them as far as Hobah, north of Damascus. He recovered all the goods and brought back his relative Lot and his possessions together with the women and the other people. Okay, these are the scriptures I wanted to read. Okay, again, read Genesis chapter 12 verses 1 through 5. Genesis chapter 13 verses 1 through 12, and Genesis chapter 14 verses 11 through 16. I went through these fast. If you didn't write them down or whatever, if you listen to the playback, you can play this back. But reading all of this, and we know this last, there were the kings were fighting and so forth and all that. So during this fighting and everything, that Lot was taken up and had been captured and everything. So Abram had to get the family and all of that, and the army and all of that, the army of the family, and getting back and everything. Okay, so it's a mess. These things happen. First of all, let me go back here to Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 through 5. Okay, this is when God first told Abram. He told him, get himself together, get out of his father's house, leave his family, leave his country, and I'm going to take you, show you or take you where you're supposed to go. You'll multiply, your name going to be great, and generation to generation, and so forth. And so Lot left with his wife, his herdsmen and everything, but most of all, Abram left. Abram left. This promise was to Abram. Abram left with the herdsmen, his herds, because he had a lot of stuff. Abram had a lot going on. Abram was rich, basically. And so he also took with him, he said, you told him to leave his father's house and everything, but he took his nephew Lot also with him. And Lot had a lot of stuff too. Lot had a lot going on. Lot had, as the scriptures go, he had a lot going on. He didn't have as much as Abram, but he had a lot going on too, the herdsmen and all. So what happened? When he took Lot, Abram took Lot, his wife and everything, controversy got to going on with the herdsmen, on the herdsmen of Lot's and the herdsmen of Abram. So that caused a little confusion. Abram said, wait a minute, Lot. We're going to settle this confusion, and hey, we're not going to have any confusion. You know, we're family. We're not going to go through this. So that's controversy right there. But they were able to smash it. They were able to get together. And so they separated because they all had a lot of things going on and riches. And it was too much for them to just dwell together with all that land. So they spread out. One went one side and one went the other. Okay. And then all this war came and happened. And with the kings and Lot was taken up in the family and everything. So Abram had to gather up the family and everything. And Abram had to put a stop to this and rescue Lot. Okay. This is what I'm saying. Took a little coffee drink here. This is what I'm saying. When it's your time, excuse me, I shouldn't have drank so fast. But anyway, when it's your time, when it's your season, when God calls you to say, hey, it's time for you to leave your family, or it's time, I want you over here now, or it's time to let those people go. This is what I want for you. This is your time. This is your season. This is what I want. That basically you cannot take everybody with you along with your blessing. Now right here, Lot was favored by God. Lot was a true man of God. God showed favor in Lot. A lot happened, everything or whatever. God was a true, God was he really had love for Lot. He really had love for Abram. But in some instances, sometimes when God tells you to pull up, you may have to leave family, you may have to leave whatever. When God is ready to train you, when you turn your life over, when things happen, it's going to be some times, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters and my saints, where you're going to have to go alone. And I spoke about it's going to be some time where it's going to be a time where you're going to stand barefoot, flat-footed, and naked in front of the Lord. You got to be stripped. You got to be trained and brought up to where He wants you to go. So you got to stay in tune. You got to stay in the spirit. All your friends may not be your friend. Ask God to reveal the ones that are in your life that shouldn't be in your life. When you change your life over, you can't bring Auntie Ann and Uncle Jane and Sister Cousin and all of that. God didn't ask for you. God told you it's time to go. So sometime God, He give your family somewhere else. He give your sister somewhere else. He give your mom somewhere else. He give your dad somewhere else. He give your sister, brother, cousin, whatever, somewhere else. And Jesus said, I am all of that. When Jesus was speaking, I think it was to the Pharisees or something, and they said, well, Jesus, your mother is here, your brothers are here, they want to speak with you. And He said, who is my mother, my brother, my sister? He said, whoever does the will of my Father, that is my mother, my brother, and my sister. Jesus is everything. If you lacking a mom, if you lacking a brother, if you're lacking a, Jesus is everything. Jesus provides. Jesus lives inside of you. There's nothing that you should feel that you're not wanted, or you want this, or you need that, or you need that, because Jesus is everything living inside of you. And it's nothing we can do without the Heavenly Father, the steps and everything. He's with us. We are not meant to be alone. And depending on your situation, He'll give you a new son. He'll give you a new daughter. He'll give you a new dad, a new mom. He'll give you these things. But He is all these things. You have a spiritual family. You have more love, I'm telling you. So when God tells you to move, when God tells you, hey, I want you over here. Hey, I want to train you. You cannot worry. You cannot worry about anything or anybody else. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, what I know. So I'm here today just to tell you, because there are sometimes when people may say, well, she's not coming to the club, and if she's not coming, hey, that's over with. That's over with. God called you out of those clubs. Unless you're going in there with another brother, another sister, and God called you to go in there and minister. But that shouldn't be your regular place of hangout. That shouldn't be your hangout with people drinking, smoking, getting high. You've been delivered from all of that. You may even end up going to another city, another place, another dwelling. Keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, stay in prayer. God lets you know, and God talks to you in many, many ways. And yes, God has spoken to me audibly. Yes, I have heard the voice of God. So you have to just pay attention to instruction where you want to go. Now, right here, it worked out in the favor of Lot. They had confusion, they had this, but I'm using this as an example. Right now, see, Lot, everything right here, it panned out, it did for the good. But this is an example here. You may have uncle, this or that, an auntie, this, that, yeah, we're moving, we're going here, we're going there. But God told you God didn't tell auntie. God didn't tell uncle. God didn't tell brother. God didn't tell. So God told you. So you may be blocking your blessings. You may be blocking